Hi everyone, I'm Louise Masi. In this video I'm going to show you how I painted this sunflower in watercolour. I'm going to run through parts of the flower with you. The full version of this tutorial, including the leaves and the stem, is available for my patrons on Patreon right now. The link to find out more is in the description of this video. I've also listed all the supplies that I used to paint the flower head down below. I'm painting over my sunflower petals with some Winsor lemon. I'm just using my Maestro brush and I'm painting on dry paper here. I made sure all my pencil lines weren't too dark before I started painting. So now I'm ready to do the centre of the flower. So I'm just washing over the centre with my Casaneo brush and some water. And now I'm going to switch to my Maestro brush because it's a bit smaller and I can take the water right up to the edge of the petals. So the Casaneo brush was a bit large for this. So now I want to paint a layer of watery sepia over the top of the centre. So I've just got to paint the jagged edges over here, and then I've got to run the paint carefully around the edges of all the petals. So I don't want it to be too dark just yet. I want to keep it fairly light. So I've mixed a bit of water in with the sepia. And now I'm just painting it carefully around the petals. I'm not paying any attention to what's happening with the paint in the centre part of the flower. I'm just placing all my attention around the edge of these petals. And then I can just fill in the centre. So before that paint dries, I just want to deepen the colour around the edge of the sunflower centre. So I've got more pigment on my brush now. So I'm working on damp paper. So when I find that the paper is starting to dry, I just dry it off with the hairdryer and then I re-wet it with the water. So that's what I've done here. I dried it off with the hairdryer and I've re-wet the centre part where I'm working. I suppose you'd call it the centre of the centre. And I'm just dabbing some really thick sepia in that centre area, just with my Maestro brush. So the paint is virtually straight out of the tube, just painting on damp paper. And now I'm bringing that dark colour around the edges of the petals as well. Still painting on the damp paper. Now that centre is dry, I'm going to start working on this petal at the back here. This is gold ochre that I'm painting on. And I'm painting that on damp paper. Just pulling it down, following the shape of the petal with my strokes. So just keep going all the way to the edge of the petal with the gold ochre. And then what I've got to do is layer the paint over the top. Before I do that, I just want to bring that ridge in down there. I've dried everything off and now I want to just brighten it up. So I'm just going to paint some more Winsor lemon over the top, just mainly on those lighter yellow areas. Now it's dry again and I'm just re-wetting this left section with some water. with some more of the gold ochre, and I'm just going to run it down that pencil line that I've got there, just so that I can bring in this ridge again. Now I've put some more gold ochre down at the bottom, just the second layer over the top of my first layer, and this just brightens the colour. Now I'm wetting down the centre part of the petal, and I run some gold ochre down my pencil line again to bring this other ridge in. So I just want it to bleed softly across the petal there. So now I'm doing the same thing in this centre part. I've just got some more gold ochre on my brush, and I'm just deepening that colour down at the base. Now I'm re-wetting the third section just with some water. And the water on the paper just keeps all my paint edges soft. So you can see I've left the Winsor lemon showing in places. Now I've just got a touch more Winsor lemon. I'm just brightening up this bottom right corner. Just painting some Winsor lemon onto this petal beside, just to brighten it up. Now I've jumped ahead and I've been doing the same thing. I've been wetting them with water and then putting the gold ochre on, then drying it and putting the gold ochre on a second time. Now I'm actually coming in with some burnt umber. So I'm painting this on damp paper, and this mainly just sits around the base of the petal. It just deepens the colour down there. So there's about 4 layers of paint on each petal. Bit of Winsor lemon on this one, and then I come in with the gold ochre. So this is its third layer that I'm painting now. And I leave the Winsor lemon showing just on the brightest parts of the petal. Dried it off. Now I'm re-wetting the base of this one. And I'm going to put some water up here as well. And now I've got some more gold ochre. So this is its 4th layer. And down the bottom here, yet another layer of the gold ochre. So I'm going to jump ahead again now. And down here, I'm painting some green gold on the right-hand side of this petal. So when I paint the middle section of this petal, you're going to see that the paint is slightly darker, so I've mixed more pigment into it. So this is still the green gold, but it's got more pigment in it. So it was the Winsor lemon first, then I dried it off, and then I put the green gold, and then I put a bit more of the green gold into it and darkened it as I went across the petal. Here I'm using sepia and my liner brush, and I'm just adding a bit of detail at the back here. What I want to do is to try and make that back of the petal recede more into the centre of the flower, so it's not quite standing out quite so much. So that's just sepia. And if you have any hard edges, you can soften them with a damp brush. So just a bit more sepia on this one as well. And this is green gold again. I'm just washing it over the dry paper with my Maestro brush just to darken the colour. So watery green gold on dry paper. I've got the green gold here as well. Just using my liner brush just to define the tip of this petal. And this is a bit of the gold ochre. And now I'm coming back in with some more of that pigment, so it's picked up from the top of the palette where the paint was squirted out. Just going to draw in a line on this one, just to guide myself. Now I've got some gold ochre on the bottom side of the line, just painting on dry paper. And now I've got the green gold. So where the two colours meet, I just sort of rub over them so that I don't get a hard paint line there. So I'm going to move on to the centre part of the flower again now. So I'm using sepia again, using my liner brush. And I'm just sort of scribbling with my brush. I'm not painting perfect little round circles. So I'm just scribbling or wobbling the brush, trying not to be too neat and tidy. So I'm just using the side of my brush and I'm just sort of wobbling it from side to side. And I can paint it fairly quickly because I'm trying not to paint it as though they're perfect little circles. I'll add a few more here as well. Just little splodges of paint. It's fairly dark paint, so pick it up right up where you've squirted it out. So now I want to paint some water on this centre part of the centre. I can still see my pencil line through the sepia. So what I want to do is try and disguise it. So if I just rub some really dark sepia over my pencil line, just in places, that'll just disguise it. You won't see it. So I'm just doing the same thing. I'm rubbing the side of my brush. And this is sepia virtually straight out of the tube. Now I've just put some cadmium orange here and here. And now I'm going to put a bit just in here. So this is watery cadmium orange. And I'm just painting it on the dry paper. A little bit up here as well. If you don't have an orange, just mix an orange with red and yellow. Now I've got some watery gold ochre and I'm just washing it over this petal at the back. It just needs to be a bit darker. It's too bright the way it was. I'll put a bit on this one as well. Just extending the tip of it there. Okay, so I spent a few days working on the sunflower and this is how it ended up. Thanks for watching. As I mentioned at the start of the video, if you'd like to see the full-length voiced-over tutorial of this sunflower painting and have access to the line drawing, my reference photo and my finished painting, you can do that on my Patreon site. I've got other tutorials on there as well, and I'm adding new content all the time. For my Skillshare people, I'm currently working on a class at the moment where I paint this galah. I'll be going over lots of different techniques like painting the feathers negatively, dropping in colour, working wet on dry and wet on wet, lifting colour while the paint's wet, softening edges, and lots of other techniques. I also asked you on Instagram the other day whether you'd have a preference for either a white flower subject or a hydrangea. So many of you have been asking me to demonstrate a hydrangea, and the poll results came back neck and neck. I think it was 149 votes for the hydrangea and 146 for the white flower subject. So it looks like I'm going to have to do two classes, a hydrangea and a white flower subject. So I've got plenty of work to keep me busy. Thanks again. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.